Good evening, all. So today we'll be discussing about types of textile fibers. So we'll be dealing with only two fibers in detail because these fibers are very important. A lot of questions come from these two fibers. So we'll be going into it. Okay. So the first one is cotton. We know that is the most common type of cloth we know, especially in a place where a tropical country, we always prefer to wear cotton clothes, etc. Right? Because it's because of the summer, it's the best choice in summers, etc. So especially now, you know how hot it is now. So we always prefer to use cotton. So cotton is the first fiber we'll be studying about. So it is a very soft fiber that grows around the seeds of the cotton plant. So this is a picture of a cotton plant, and we have all seen, at least in pictures or in real also we have seen the cotton plant, the cotton seed. So this is the fiber that grows on the seed pod, or it is a cotton ball. Now each fiber is a single elongated cell that is flat, twisted, and ribbon-like with a wide inner hollow. Okay, that is a the each of the fiber in detail. Now you coming to fiber, how does it how is the processing of cotton? So this is also a very important part that we need to study, how the cotton is processed. Okay, after plucking the seeds, the from the plant or from the tree, or from the cotton plant, what you have to do is there are a lot of processes that need to be done so that it can be used as a it can be used in fabric production. Okay, so the first thing is the first step is ginning. Okay, so that term you need to write it down. Please take your pen and paper and start writing. There are a lot of terms coming in today's class. So the first term is ginning. So ginning is the separation of fibers from the seed. So we have just plugged the ball like thing, right? So now we need to separate the fiber from the seed. That is the number one step. So it is done on a cotton gin. So there is a picture of the cotton gin where the seed is separated from that cotton fiber. Now the separated fibers are called as lint. Okay, that is the first process from that cotton, from the cotton seed. The using a gin, what do you call? It is separated from that, and that the first step, it is called as the lint. Okay, they have a staple length of between 15 to 50 millimeters depending on the variety. There are a lot of varieties of cotton, so depending on the variety, the length also differs. Now on many types of seed, there are very short fibers also. They're very small, extremely short fibers are called linters. Okay, usually it is called the one which is having at least 15 to 50 millimeter will be called as lint, and which are even shorter than that are called as linter. Okay, so the chemical composition means they are made up of cellulose, and they have a lot of uses, including the production of man-made in regenerated fibers. Also you can use these cotton. So after the seed hair, like only the linter or linters, when you can't use it for producing. When we spoke about rayon, we told that the fibers which are not fit for production of cotton, linen, etc., they which are very short in length, or which are non-uniform, they can be used to prepare regenerated fibers like rayon. So these linters can be used for making man-made fibers. Okay, because they can't be usual, because it's very small, so they are not uniform, so they can't be used for making pure cotton clothes. Now the next process, now we have lint or linters. Now linters, they are you're separating them because you don't want them for making cotton clothes or cotton fabrics. So now you have all the lint, right? That is the fibers which are separated from the seed of the cotton. Now the next first process is baling. The cotton is then pressed into bundles, although small fibers, right? The lints are then pressed into bundles, sacked with jute sacking, and they are then bound with steel bands. So you can just imagine them. There is they are all kept together. These are called as bales. Now this is also, no, this is just a raw material kind. I mean, it's not the final product. You have to have they are all pressed into bundles. All the small fibers are pressed into bundles called as bales, and they are supplied to mills. Now the next process takes place in the cotton mill. Now it goes into the spinning mill. Okay. So first was ginning. There was a cotton gin machine is there, and then it is all kept pressed together, and then this all these press the bales are going to the spinning mill. Now in the spinning mill, what happens is these have to be opened. All these, the bundle is opened, they are blended and they are cleaned. So in the mill, bales are selected, so they are sorted out. They are selected to satisfy the requirements of a particular end use, and then they are all laid down in a row to be opened and blended through a range of machines. The opening and blending processes ensure a consistent and homogeneous blend of fiber. So we need fiber which are uniform in length, uniform in structure, etc. Because it has to be the same. Then only you can keep it together and produce yarns, right? What do you want? Ultimately you have to produce a thread-like structure, right? So it should be uniform. Then you know how a thread looks like. So it should be uniform. Then only you can make threads out of it or a yarn out of it. So fiber should be the second step of a fiber. It should before you produce a dress or a fabric, it has to go to has to become a yarn, right? So in order to become a yarn, it has to be uniform in length. So these bales or whichever things which are going to the spinning mill, it is opened, they are cleaned, and then what happens is they are actually laid down together as separate batches, and they are inspected as to which all according to their length, etc. Now the next thing is cleaning, or what do you say, it is individualizing the machine. So another very important processing in cotton is carding, carding. So once the fiber has been opened, blended and cleaned, it is fed to the carding machine. Now carding machine, what it does is it singles out one strand. It singles out a strand of overlapping fibers called a sliver. Now the lint is getting converted into a sliver. Okay, lint is all the lints are kept together as bundle called as bales. Then the bales are going into the spinning mill, and there it is opened, it is cleaned, and then it is fed into a carding machine. Now the carding machine, what the carding machine does is it will produce single continuous strands of overlapping fiber. So you need like a single thread like structure. So that is called as the sliver. Okay, so sliver is formed when it is when the lints or all the fibers are fed into the carding machine. Okay, so what is carding? Carding is the process of condensing the fibers into a single continuous strand of overlapping fibers called a sliver. So what is carding? Carding is a process in which all the fibers are condensed to a single continuous strand. So please keep these terms in mind. Next term is combing. Now just like we comb our hair, combing is the process that removes all the impurities. Okay, just like when you comb your hair, it becomes very smooth, right? Just like that, the combing is a process that removes all the short fibers, whatever impurities are there, like vegetable matter, then seed coat, this little fragments will be there. So all these things should be removed. So this is a refinement process. So carding is a refinement process for making it very smooth, just like our hair, how it is combed and how you make it smooth. Just like that, combing is the process where all the impurities, short fibers, etc. are removed. Now they makes the fiber more parallel and makes it more uniform and smooth. Now the sliver is then turned into combed sliver. Okay, so initially it was lint, then bale, and then it will open, and then you have a sliver, the continuous strand called as the sliver, and after the combing process it is called as combed sliver. Okay, now the next now you have a continuous strand which is smooth away from all the impurities, etc. There are no impurities, it's very smooth, uniform in nature. Now the next process is drawing. Just okay, drawing. So drawing, what it does is all the carded slivers or the combed slivers are then combined or again condensed to form a single one. So drawing is done by a set of rollers. Now you can see in the picture some rollers are there which will condense all the slivers or the small continuous strands into single strand. Now again, rowing. Now in preparation for ring spinning, the sliver needs to be condensed to a finer strand known as rowing before it can be spun into a yarn. So why are there so many condensing processes going on here? Because a yarn, you know that a thread should be very if you when you are actually you can take, when you're taking it or holding it, it should not break very easily. So right, it should be strong. So for that you need to keep on blending it, or you have to keep condensing it. It has to be really strong. So a continuous strand which is uniform, and it should be very strong, and it should be very sticking together. Okay, all the small short fibers should stick together, then only it will be strong. So the rowing is in preparation before spinning. What happens is the sliver needs to be condensed into a very fine strand known as rowing before it can be spun into a yarn. Now the next very important process is the spinning process. Now this is the final process in the manufacture of yarn. So all these shorts, what do you call the thin thin strands or the sliver is then spun together to form a yarn. Yarn is what we call a thread. In layman's term, it is called as a thread. So the process of converting cotton fibers from lint into a yarn involves a number of processes that aim to clean, remove short fibers, align the fibers, and at last it is then spun. So spinning is keeping it all together. It is spun into a continuous thread or a yarn. Okay, so that is about how fiber is getting converted to a yarn. Now about yarns we'll be discussing in the next in the coming sessions. So we have spoken about how a cotton from its plant is getting converted to the yarn stage. Okay, I hope that is clear. So there are many processes involved, and there are a lot of terms like carding, combing, spinning, etc. So please make sure you understand these terms and try to understand how the process is going on. Okay, so sometimes there will be questions like giving the many carding, combing, spinning, etc., and you'll be asked to give the order of how it is being done. So first it is ginning, like that. So you need to know the order how these cotton is being processed. So you need to know it in the correct sequence. Okay, so sometimes in the examination I have seen certain questions like arrange in the order of how cotton is being processed, like that. Now about the composition of cotton, it is 90% cellulose, 6% moisture, and the remainder is fats and certain impurities. Okay, the outer surface is covered with a protective wax-like coating which gives it the adhesive quality. Adhesive quality means that stickiness. Of course, when you have seen a cotton ball, right, it kind of sticks together, right? There is some stickiness into it, even though it doesn't feel sticky. When you try to take it out, pull it out, it kind of when you after pulling it out, if you keep it back together, it sticks very well, right? So that is the adhesive quality. Now the fiber length varies from 0.5 inches to 2 inches. So it's a very short fiber. So it is a staple fiber. It is not a filament, right? So it is a staple fiber. We had discussed in the last class about staple fibers and filaments, right? So it is a staple filament fiber. It has a flat, twisted tube shape. Now, the cellulose is arranged in a way that it gives the cotton the unique properties of strength, durability, absorbency, etc. Now let's see the different qualities of cotton, the properties of cotton. What are the properties of cotton? First, it has a 10% increase in strength when wet. Now you just try to wash your clothes or your cotton clothes. You can see that when it is wet, it is heavier, it is more stronger also. Okay, compared to others. Now it is fresh, it is crisp. Just think about cotton clothes. It is very fresh, it looks very crisp when you're it is comfortable, and the most important property is it has an absorbent quality, that is it absorbs a lot of moisture. So that is why it is a very good option in summers. Then it has no pilling problems. Now pilling is the term, I have shown you the picture in the towards the right. This is a picture of piling. That is when you see certain clothes, especially certain dresses, you see even viscose rayon, dresses like viscose or rayon clothes have this pilling. There is it comes like a small balls comes, the cotton, the surface of the dress comes out, comes up like this. There is a small, the fibers pill up together, so that is the pilling. So in pure cotton clothes you don't have this problem. Okay. And it is also has a good resistance to alkalis. Now we know that a detergent, soap, etc. are basically alkaline in nature. Cotton has a good resistance to alkalis, so that is why it can be washed. There is no issue. You can wash it with detergent. There is no problem in cotton. Now there are certain drawbacks also for cotton compared to other fabrics. One is it has very poor wrinkle resistance, as we have seen in the picture. You need to iron your cotton clothes, right? You need to iron your cotton dresses. Then because it gets when you crush it, it gets wrinkled very fast. Then the another very important problem is shrinkage. Now we know that after you certain dresses like cotton clothes, when you wear it, and after one wear, when you wash it, or when you wash it, what happens is cotton clothes will shrink. Okay, it reduces in size. So that is also a poor quality. Then poor acid resistance. Of course, we know that when you're using really difficult when it is not resistant to acid. Of course, if you're working in a lab or something, if an acid falls on it, definitely the cotton will burn out. So that is also very bad. Then less abrasion resistant. Abrasion means if you are trying to if there is a lot of dirt in that your dress, and if you're trying to uh, if you're very harshly you're trying to wash it with all your might, with especially when you're trying to rub it against, you're using a brush or rubbing it against any what do you call, a rock or anything. What happens is the traditional method of washing clothes here in Kerala, what you do is you rub it against a rock or a stone. So like when you do it continuously, what happens is it gets stored. Okay. So there is less abrasion resistance. Then there is, of course, a very bad problem or a very exclusive problem to cotton is it is susceptible to damage by moth and mildew. What is mildew? You might have seen your clothes when you are putting it in a moist atmosphere, especially if you're using it, like if you're keeping your clothes in the washroom, in the bathroom. What happens is especially if it is white and all, you can notice there are small black spots, right? So that is called as mildew. Okay, mildew, you have included the picture over here. That is mildew. There's this black small spots you can see. That is mildew. Okay. So cotton is susceptible to damage by mildew. That needs a lot of maintenance, and stains are also very difficult to remove. Why are stains very difficult to remove on cotton? It is because of the property that cotton is a very good absorbent. Because cotton is very good absorbent, it attracts all the stains also. So the stains also get absorbed in the cotton. So that is why it is very hard to remove the stains. Then the maintenance is also high because you need to always iron it and starching it, because of the poor wrinkle resistance, you have to use starch and all for cotton clothes. Now the next one is a natural fiber. It is jute. So we had discussed in the last class of that jute is a bast fiber. That is, it is a fiber which is made from a stem. So it is a long, soft, shiny vegetable fiber that can be spun into coarse, strong fibers. Okay. It is a lingocellulosic fiber that is partially a textile fiber and partially wood. That is why it is called lingocellulosic fiber. That is, it is partially fibrous in nature and it is partially wood. So we know that jute is very hard. It is coarse. It is not a smooth fiber. It is very coarse in nature. Now about the jute plant, the plant will grow up to a height of 2.5 meter and its fiber length is about 2 meters. Okay, it is generally used in geotextiles. What is geotextiles? Geotextiles are textiles which are usually, made for like when you're talking about organic textiles or the new generation which is completely, which makes use of only plant-based materials. So such it is mainly used for such things. Then it has good resistance to microorganisms and insects. But the problem of jute is it has low wet strength. So low elongation, and it is inexpensive. So the good part is that it is inexpensive. Now, jute is mainly used for making gunny sacks. We know that about the sacks in which rice, all those things come are in jute bags, right? So jute bag is very commonly used because of its good resistance to microorganisms and insects. So that is a very good property of jute. That is why cotton is not used, because just imagine if rice, wheat and all in olden times were stored in cotton bags. Naturally it will be damaged very quickly. Okay, that is why earlier and all jute was used. Nowadays plastic and all are also used, but even then jute is also used in storing these cereals, grains, etc., because of the resistance to microorganisms and insects. But compared to plastic, of course plastic is much better, but in earlier days there were limited options, so naturally jute was used. Now it has a low wet strength. Means once it is wet, then it's not good for use, so it's very bad. Then inexpensive, yes, it is inexpensive. That is why it is widely used. Now another one is hemp. Has anybody heard of hemp fabric? Has anybody used hemp fabric? Now this is hemp is something which is kind of new. It is like usually hemp textiles are not were not very popular earlier, but now it is becoming popular because of its because of a lot of positives that we'll be discussing. So has anybody used anything related to hemp? Has anybody heard the term hemp?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so hemp is actually, I have heard this hemp term because I use cloth. I sometimes I use cloth diapers for my babies. Okay, now cloth diapers. When I was searching for cloth diapers, I saw many options like cotton fibers are there. Then what charcoal fiber, things like that. And then I saw word hemp, which is it was expensive also, but it has a very good absorbance. So among all these options, hemp was kind of expensive. So hemp is actually a sustainable textile made of fibers of a very high yielding crop in the Cannabis sativa family. Now, has anybody heard of Cannabis sativa? Cannabis sativa. It is a problematic.
No, ma'am.
It is
Yes, ma'am.
yeah. Where have you heard about it?
Botany.
Is it Dilfa? Who is it?
Yeah.
Okay, Dilfa has heard it in botany. Okay, where did you hear that term? What is that?
Yeah.
Yes. Cannabis sativa is nothing but marijuana or ganja or kanja with Malayalam. So, cannabis sativa is ganja. So, it is actually in that family, but it is slightly different from the cannabis sativa because it has certain other chemically it has different properties. Okay, but the family is the same and it also looks the same. That is why I have included the picture. It looks just like the ganja plant. So historically it was used for industrial purposes like rope, sail, etc. But now it is used as a very durable natural fiber. So depending on the processing used to remove the fiber from the stem, the hemp naturally may be creamy white, brown, gray, black, or green. So from from this plant, the stem is completely used for for preparing the fiber. It is a bast fiber just like jute. Now it is a yellowish brown fiber. Depending on the kind of processing, the color may vary. Now the hemp fibers can be 3 to 15 feet long, running the length of the plant, so that the whole plant can be used as a fiber. So the characteristic of hemp fiber are its superior strength and durability, resistance to ultraviolet light and mold, comfort and good absorbency. Just like I told earlier, it is actually good for very good absorbent. So for use for making, our menstrual pad or babies cloth diapers, hemp is excessively used now. Because of its high absorbency, superior strength, durability, resistance to ultraviolet rays, etc. So the fabric is also breathable, lightweight, strong, etc. So from the point of view of sustainability also, hemp is very good because it is a cheap material. It can be grown without much need for pesticides or herbicides. It is also naturally antibacterial, and it also has a very rapid growth and little water consumption property. So that is why it is a very good option now, because of its sustainability. Compared to earlier times, we are now bothered about sustainability, right? Because now we have less amount of water. Now we also prefer organic dresses, organic organic foods, organic products for everything, right? So hemp is a very good option. So about cotton versus hemp, this is just for your information. So it uses no chemical pesticides. The growth cycle is only 3 to 4 months, and the water needed is also very little, and the production is also very high compared to cotton. So that is why hemp is a sustainable, better option compared to cotton. So that is hemp being used for making dresses. Okay, now the next fiber is coir. Now about coir, we in Kerala we have especially in areas like Alappuzha and all, there are a lot of processing of coir is a very important industry here. So the fiber is mechanically extracted from dry mature coconut husk after it is soaked. Now it is a long, hard, strong fiber, but with lower softness, lower water absorbency, and shorter life. So the coir is not very popular as a dress material, as a fabric material, but it has other what you call to make rugs, carpets, etc. It is widely used. So that is why we are not going to go into the details of the coir. Now we'll be moving on to animal fibers. Okay, so about animal fibers, mainly we had discussed about silk, wool, etc. Right? So animal fibers are natural fibers that consist largely of protein such as silk, hair, fur, wool, feathers, etc. So the most commonly used type of animal fibers are mainly two. One is hair, that is the body hair of the animal, especially like wool. We know that the wool is used as wool is the body hair of the sheep, right? Then another one is secretion fiber. Now when we talk about silk, silk is actually a secretion fiber because it is a filament which is secreted from the silkworm, right? So that is why it is called as a secretion fiber. Now wool is a staple fiber because it is short in length, and secretion fibers are longer in length. That is why it is a filament. Filament is in nature. So there are two types. One is hair and secretion fibers. So secretion fibers are usually filamentous in nature because of its length. Okay. Now we'll discuss about silk in big detail because a lot of questions have come in the production of silk. It is its manufacture, how the processing of sericulture and things like that. A lot of questions have come in the previous years also. So we'll discuss the questions at the end of the week. So now we'll deal with the portions. Okay, so silk fiber, as we all know, is an animal protein fiber obtained from silkworms. So this the term used for cultivation of silkworms for the process for the preparation of silk is called as sericulture. So China, initially there is in very olden times itself, the China was the main producer of silk, and now also it maintains the monopoly in production of very good quality silk. So India ranks second in the production of silk-rich fabrics. Now about sericulture. The cultivation of silkworms for the purpose of producing silk filaments is termed as sericulture. And here you need to know a lot of terms are coming again. So Bombyx mori is a species of moth that produces fine silk, and it is suitable for raising sericulture. So the most common use species of silkworm is called as Bombyx mori. Okay, so silkworm is Bombyx mori. Now, there are steps of silkworm's life cycle. Also, we need to know, because that is also sometimes this life cycle of the silk moth has been asked in the questions in the UGC net examinations of previous years. So we'll discuss the life cycle of the silkworm. Okay, the first life cycle starts with the egg, as of most animals. So egg which are hatched into larvae. So first stage is the egg, then comes the larvae. The larvae stage is the silkworm. Okay, so silkworm, it is a caterpillar stage which eats on mulberry leaves. So the Bombyx mori, in sericulture, the Bombyx mori is being cultivated, and they are given mulberry leaves to feed, because mulberry leaves, when they are fed on mulberry leaves, they give good quality silk. Okay, that is why mulberry leaves are extensively used. Then comes the cocoon stage. Now the cocoon, in the cocoon stage, it is at that time that the silkworm will spin the cocoon for its protection, and that is when they produce these silk, right? So the moth, the chrysalis, so inside that, what happens is, inside the cocoon stage, the chrysalis inside the cocoon will mature and emerge from the cocoon. Okay, so the organism that comes out of the cocoon is called as the chrysalis. So inside the cocoon will mature and emerge out from the cocoon. Now that is a female moth stage. So from the, just like a butterfly's life cycle, we know that the larvae or the caterpillar will then turn into a butterfly, right? So here in this case, it is a moth, not a butterfly. It is not a very colorful thing. So it is a moth that is formed. So the chrysalis will mature into a moth, and the female again lays eggs, and the life cycle is continued. That is the egg, silkworm, or the larva stage, cocoon stage, and again the moth is formed. So this life cycle keeps continuing. So what happens is, the female moth will lay approximately 350 to 600 eggs. So each healthy egg will hatch into a larva, which is approximately 3 millimeter in length. Now the tiny worm has a large appetite, so it will be fed 5 times a day on chopped mulberry leaves. So in our Tamil Nadu sides and all, there are a lot of sericulture centers. I have visited some of them. So there are a lot of small like, what do you say, a shed like area where all the silkworms are kept, and there are a lot of feed also. The feed is the mulberry leaves are being fed into all of them. So after 4 changes of skin or molting, the worm reaches the full growth in the form of a smooth grayish white caterpillar about 9 centimeters long, and its interest in food decreases, or it when the small larva becomes a little, the worm will reach the full growth, and at that point they will start spinning. So it begins to get ready to spin the cocoon. So when it is almost a fully grown caterpillar, it starts after that it stops feeding, and then it starts to spin the cocoon. And then there is a small opening under the caterpillar's jaws called the spinneret. So we had discussed about the spinneret, right? How just like how the small filaments are coming out from the spinneret, just like how you make man-made fibers, just like that in nature, in these jaws of, in the mouth of these small caterpillars, there are spinnerets which gives rise to these filamentous structures or silk. So the silkworm begins to secrete a protein-like substance through the spinneret, and with a bending motion, the filament is spun around the worm in the form of figure 8. Okay, just like that. So the cocoon is produced. That is how it encircles the body of the of the caterpillar. Okay, just like how it just like how 8 is there, the figure 8, it goes in rounds and it encircles or it completely covers the silkworm. So in 3 days the cocoon is completed. It is about the size and shape of a peanut shell. So that is how the in within a matter of 3 days you get the, what do you call, the complete cocoon. Now the filament is in the form of double strand of fibroin. The protein is called as a fibroin, which is held together by a gummy substance called as sericin. Okay, the gummy substance inside the filamentous thread is called sericin. Now liquid substance will harden immediately on exposure to air, and the life cycle is terminated at this point by a process known as stowing or stifling. Okay, stifling means what happens is the life cycle that the silkworms are actually being or like killed. So what happens is when it when they are exposed to air, when it is opened, when it is exposed to air itself, what happens is the life cycle or the caterpillar dies, or the cocoons are what, there will be nothing wrong with the cocoon. It will be heated, but to suffocate the chrysalis, but the delicate silk filament is not harmed. So man, as we are all what do you call, selfish, we are actually thinking only about the silk here. So the cocoon is completely safe when it is heated, but the chrysalis or the forming moth will die. It will be suffocated in the heat. So the cocoons are then sorted according to the color, size, shape, texture, etc. Then they are put through a series of hot and cold immersions, as the sericin must be softened to permit. So what happens is there is a gummy substance, right? To keep all these silk filaments together, there is a gummy substance called as sericin. So these sericin should be removed. Okay, so first, so the cocoon, after the silkworm produces the cocoon, what happens is you are heating it, and then the chrysalis will die. That is a moth, the growing moth will die. It will get suffocated and it will die, and the cocoon is preserved. And what happens is all the cocoons are collected and they are sorted according to their color, size, shape, texture, etc. Then they are put through a series of hot and cold immersions, because the sericin must be softened. Then only you can reel the silk out of it. It should be unwound, right? It is in the form of a cocoon, so the filament should be unwound. So it should be unwound of the filament as a one continuous strand. So that is the next process. The silk is unwound in a factory called as a filature. So the factory in which the cocoon is unwound is called as a filature. The process of unwinding the filament from the cocoon is called reeling. So we can just remember the reels of a movie, right? You have continuous reels, just like that. The process of unwinding the filament from the cocoon is called as a reeling. Okay, so remember these terms, please write it down so that you don't forget them. So reeling is the process of unwinding the filament from the cocoon. During reeling or unwinding, the filament of a single cocoon is very small, like very fine for commercial use. So at least 3 to 10 strands are reeled at a time to produce the desired diameter of a raw silk thread. So they are all combined together, because one filament from one single cocoon is extremely thin. This diameter is extremely small. So when the filament from each cocoon nears completion, operators attach a new filament to the moving thread. So this is happening in the factory unit called as a filature. And what happens is at least 300 to 600 meters of this filaments are prepared. So silk filaments are reeled into skeins, which are packed in small bundles called books. Just like when we had spoken about cotton, how it is ginned and then packed as bales, right? Here, the terms are silk filaments are reeled into skeins, skeins. So in cotton, it was lint. Here it is skeins, okay, which are packed in small bundles called books. Okay, these filaments are reeled into skeins. That is into like combination of them are called as bundles, are called books. In this form, the raw silk is shipped to all parts of the world. So here we have to learn about the process of how the silk is getting processed from the silkworms, the cocoon, to the silk bundles, which are called as books. Okay. So there are a lot of terms associated with silk production. The first one is throwing. Okay, it's just not throwing your paper or books or anything. Throwing means reeled silk is reeled means the silk which has been unwound from the cocoon. The reeled silk is transformed into a yarn by a process called as throwing. So it is it means to just twist. There is single strands are given a lot of twisting so that it gets more stronger. So that is what is called as throwing. Now you might be wondering, why can't they just say it as twisting? Why such complicated terms? Well, I don't know. There are a lot of complicated terms in textiles that you need to know, because as far as exams are concerned, a lot of these questions come, like what is throwing? Many options will come. What is the process of process called, which is about transforming silk yarn, silk reels into silk yarn? You might be given a lot of options like throwing, carding, ginning, or etc. So you need to know throwing is the this process where silk is converted to silk yarn. Okay, now the next process is doubling. Two or more filaments can be kept together and twisted to get a variety of yarn structure. Now, depending on the yarn structure, georgette, crepe, organza, etc. are the types produced by varying the amount of twist given to silk filaments. Now, how many of you knew that crepe, georgette, organza, all these materials are actually made from silk? Raise your hands. Did you think that it is a different type of material, or did you know that it is from silk? Anybody? Nobody knew. Just tell yes or no.
No.
Okay, something new. Okay, so there is organza. All these materials are depending on the twist, or how these silk fibers were twisted and how the yarns were prepared. These types of materials are formed. That is georgette, crepe, organza, etc. Even taffeta, etc. are all different types of silk depending on the type of yarn. Now, the next term is degumming. It is a very easy term because we know degumming, gumming, removing the gum. So we had learned that sericin is the gummy substance. Okay, sericin has to be removed from the silk filaments to get a smooth, lustrous quality of silk. So sericin will be present after reeling and throwing, all these after even because it is an adhesive, right? So it will be present. So degumming should be done by treating the raw silk in a mild alkaline bath. So there will be a loss of weight in the fabric. So degumming is to remove the gum, that is the sericin, from the silk. So there will be loss of weight. So the silk which was produced will have at least a loss of 20%. So if you had 100 kg of silk, at least only after this degumming process, there will be only 80 kg. So that is a big loss, right? So what happens is you need to do something else. That is weighting. Now, weighting, the silk is boiled to remove excess gum, right? So what happens is the loss of weight is now replaced by absorption of metal. So we have told that the silk will lose some amount of weight when the gum is removed or sericin is removed from it. So what happens is we need to increase the weight, right? So what happens is there is the most commonly used substance for applying or increasing the weight of the silk fabrics are metallic salts such as those of tin and iron. The fiber will absorb these salts and will swell up. Okay, weighting means it is absorption of metals by the silk so that the weight of the fiber increases. Okay, so they are not removed by washing. Silks are weighted at either at yarn stage or at the fabric stage. So it can be done at either the yarn stage or the fabric stage, because weighting means to increase the weight of the silk fabric or the yarn or the fabric stage. Even after the silk garment, I mean the cloth is produced, at that time also this can be done. Weighting means increase the weight of the fabric. So for weighting colored silks, stannic chloride is used, followed by treating with sodium phosphate. So stannic means it is related to tin. So the metal tin is added to it. Stannic chloride is used, followed by treatment with sodium phosphate. So it is a chemical processing method in which the weight of the silk is increased by absorbing metals. Okay, so this is what silk weighting is called. Because degumming process is done, lot of weight is decreased. So that is why weighting of silk is done. This question has also been asked in the previous year, what is weighting of silk? So all these terms are very important. Weighting, this reeling, what is weighting, etc. So these things you need to know, especially in textiles. There are a lot of terms coming up, so please write it and learn. And it's always good to understand also what is weighting. Just like the term says, weighting, increasing the weight. Now talking about types of silk. Now there are different types of silk. Raw silk is there. Silk in its raw stage with the sericin is called as raw silk. Without degumming. Okay, before the degumming, whatever silk is there, that is called as raw silk. Now there are different two, mainly after the degumming process, there are mainly two types of silk. I mean, even in the raw state, you can say that there are mainly silk can be classified into two types. One is cultivated and one is wild. Just like we classify animals as domestic animals and wild animals, silk is also the same way, domesticated or cultivated silk and wild silk. So what is cultivated silk? So silk obtained from cocoons of silkworms, which are reared carefully through silk sericulture, is called as cultivated or mulberry silk. So these silk worms, which are cultivated, used for cultivated silk, they will be fed exclusively on mulberry leaves. Okay, they will be fed on mulberry leaves. They will be in a protected environment. They will be given a special treatment will be given, and they will be in a they are not found in the wild. They are present in a culturing center or a cultivation unit, sericulture unit. These are called as cultivated silk. Now the wild silk is obtained from cocoons of silkworm, which are left unattended in the wild in their own natural habitats. Like the tussar silk is from like that. Okay, tussar silk, you have heard about tussars, like tussar saris and all are there. So tussar silk is a wild silk. So it is not as the quality of tussar silk is not as good as the cultivated silk. So the silk obtained from Antheria mylitta. So it's not Bombyx mori. Cultivated silk is produced from silkworm, which is called which is in the species Bombyx mori. Here it is Antheria mylitta. Now the next one is another type of wild silk is Muga silk. So this is Muga silk is actually very beautiful, and it is an expensive golden colored wild silk called as Muga, which is produced in the Brahmaputra Valley, the northeastern side, that is Assam, adjoining parts of Burma. So the silk is very highly priced because of its golden color, and also it is very, the quality is increasing. Even with washing or aging, the quality doesn't decrease. So that is why it is, Moga is a very good, even though it is a wild silk, it is very highly priced, and it is good also. So the garments made of it outlast those made of ordinary silk. So it is very lasting. It lasts up to 50 years or more, and also it absorbs more moisture compared to ordinary silk. So that is why it is more comfortable to wear, but it is not very commonly found. Moga silk. Now the next is tussar silk or tussa, Tussah or AR. Both these both the words can be used, both the spellings can be used. It is light brown in color and may be difficult to bleach. It is a little tough, as these worms are fed on oak trees. Now that is why they have this natural brown color. So tussar silk is an important segment of the silk industry because it is cheaper than the other silk. Compared to the ordinary pure silk, it is a little more cheaper. The silk are not as lustrous as cultivated silk. So that is a drawback of the tussar silk, is even though they are inexpensive, the problem is that it is not very shiny. It is not extremely shiny compared to the cultivated silk. Okay. Now, the properties of silk. Now, what are the properties of silk? It is the longest, thinnest natural filament fiber with the longest filament around 3,000 yards. It can go up to 3,000 yards. So it's a very long fiber, a filamentous structure. Okay, it is relatively lustrous. Just like when you think about silk itself, you imagine a shiny appearance, right? It is smooth, it is lightweight, it is elastic. It is elastic also. Now, it is essentially composed of protein fiber and it is naturally a white colored fiber. Now, about its strength, it is one of the strongest natural fibers. Elasticity, it has a good elasticity and moderate elongation, has medium resiliency. What is resiliency? Coming back together as the same. That is, we had discussed in the earlier class. So resiliency, it is medium. Moisture absorb compared to wool and all, the resiliency is medium. Now, a moisture absorbency usually contains 10% moisture even when comfortably dry. On absorbing 20% moisture, it becomes damp. So the moisture absorbency is not as good as cotton, but it is also fairly good. Now, the best quality of silk is its drapability. Drapability means when you wear silk garments, it is very pliable, or it it feels very it drapes very well into your body, onto your body. So it has a very good drapability, good pliability. You can twist when you turn it, or you twist it, it feels very smooth. It clings to your body. That is what is drapability. It has a very supple nature. It combined with its elasticity and resilience gives it excellent drapability. So the one important feature of silk dress or silk material is its drapability. Drapability, how it fits well into your body. Then heat and electric conductivity. It is a poor conductor of heat, and it is warmer than cotton. So we know that when you are wearing silk, it feels hotter than of course than wearing cotton, linen or rayon. So electrical conductivity is also poor. So so what happens the silk, when you're wearing silk, there is a small amount of static electricity. Okay, it's very little. Now, about effective alkali, we know that silk dresses are very expensive, and you also don't wash it with detergents much, right? Because we it's a very beautiful silk garments and all. What we do is, usually you don't use any detergents or soap and all. You just sun dry it, and maintenance is quite difficult. So that is why effective alkali silk is damaged by strong alkalis, and it will dissolve in heated caustic soda. So when if you're planning to wash it in hot water or with soap and detergent, it will be damaged. So the wet strength is also less for silk compared to cotton. Now, reaction to acids also. Concentrated mineral acid dissolves silks faster than wool. So compared to its reaction with acids, it gets damaged by acids. Then perspiration. Silk fabrics are damaged by perspiration. That is, your sweat damages the fabric. So the silk itself deteriorates, and the color is also affected. Sometimes you see that the color, when you're your armpit area, the silk, when you're wearing silk blouse or some silk dresses, what happens is, though the area over near your armpit, the color fades, because perspiration is bad for silk. The sweat is, your body sweat is bad for silk. Then reaction to bleaches. Strong bleaches which contain sodium hypochlorite will destroy silk. So here silk also it should be handled with care. So even continuous sunlight also weakens the silk faster than cotton or silk. So in short, I can say that silk is something which needs a lot of care and maintenance. That is, bleaches are not to be used. Then even excess of sunlight should not be used. Excess of acids, detergents, alkali. Even you can't even sweat in silk garments. So that is why you need to be extremely careful when you are taking care of silks. So moth and mildew do not attack silk fabric. That is the good thing is that moth, mildew, that small black spots which we had seen in cotton does not affect silk. Even if you leave it in your bathroom, silk garments will not be affected by mildew, but it is attacked by carpet beetles. So carpet beetles will attack these silk, but mildew, that small black spots, will not be found in your silk garments. So this is about silk. So compare the properties is that the one highlighting property you need to remember is its drapeability, and the what do you call, the shine, the luster, elasticity, resilience are all medium. And then when it comes to effect of alkalis, acid, etc., it is the quality deteriorates in all these the acid, alkali, bleaches, etc., will all damage the fabric. So that is about silk. Now uses, as we all know, it is used in making saris, then all, blouse, dress, scarves, pants, ties, etc. So it can be even used for sofa covers, cushions, etc. Okay, so this is about silks. So that is how we are winding up with two main fibers we have studied, that is cotton and silk, and also we have touched a bit of jute, hemp, and coir, but they are not, the processing and things may not be known to you, because they are not like very you don't need to know the processing and things like that in detail. Usually what the questions in net exam is usually focused on sericulture, then cotton, these ginning, carding, combing, all these terms have been asked multiple times. So please, when you're revising this chapter on textile, the fibers, especially cotton and silk, please remember all these terms, write it down, what is carding, what is combing, what is reeling, etc. So that you can write it as a flow chart or however you feel is comfortable, so that you remember the processes and these terms. Okay,